Chapter 12. Assignment Jyaki. Jyaki Island. As the first light of the moon cast its silvery glow upon the secluded beach, Inyana stood poised on the precipice of the cliff, a silent observer to the unfolding spectacle below. The rhythmic lapping of the waves served as an eerie prelude to the arrival of a macabre procession. From the murky depths of the sea emerged an armada of ominous vessels, each one carrying a cargo of nightmares and malevolent entities. Lagahu, elusive shapeshifters, slithered from the shadows of the ships, their forms undulating between grotesque shapes and ethereal mist. Their eyes gleamed with an otherworldly intelligence, reflecting the myriad identities they could assume at will. Alongside them, the dog-headed crocata of India, with their lupine features and unnerving vocal mimicry, disembarked, adding an unsettling symphony of echoes to the cacophony. The Nasi, the trickster spider creatures of the African jungles, crawled forth, their legs clicking in unison as they wove webs of deceit in the moonlit sand. Mapinguari, ancient guardians of the Brazilian rainforest, lumbered ashore, their hulking forms draped in foliage, embodying the very spirit of the untamed wilderness. Gaping maws of razor-sharp teeth were their bellies, and they towered over the other visitors like giants. Shamrosh, with their avian bodies and canine heads, circled above, casting ominous shadows as they surveyed the gathering horde. Sehuamba, a spectral beauty's curse with a haunting allure, moved gracefully among the arriving monstrosities, their presence evoking a subtle sense of unease. Like sirens, they were able to enchant nearby male creatures and force them into their bidding. But where sirens used their vocal magic to enchant, the Sahambwa produced invisible pheromones. Rakshasa, the demonic shapeshifters of the Hindu lore, prowled with feline grace, their eyes gleaming with an insatiable hunger for chaos. Several Rakshasa and Crocata immediately collide, their hatred of each other spanning centuries. Striga, ancient Albanian creatures adept with dark magic, drifted in on ethereal winds, their ghostly forms heralding the arrival of darkness. Gorgons, with serpentine hair and petrifying gazes, coiled and uncoiled with a sinister elegance, while succubi, seductresses of the night, wove through the assembly, casting enchantments with every sultry step. The beach became a surreal menagerie, a congregation of creatures from the depths of myth and nightmare, each one exuding an aura of malevolence that pervaded the night air. Enormous 9 to 12 foot tall Fomorian giants, with appetites for human flesh, squat, dirty-looking creatures resembling a cross between monkeys and lizards called bwabaks, hairy Therian were creatures able to change their form and appearance, devil-possessed human demoniacs, and other monsters of all shapes and sizes now prowl the island. Amidst the gathering of monstrous entities on the moonlit beach, a cadre of seemingly ordinary figures moved with an air of quiet authority, their unassuming appearances belying the formidable power that radiated from within. Cloaked in shadows, these enigmatic figures walked with a deliberate stride, their eyes gleaming with an ancient wisdom that set them apart from the grotesque throng. The first figure, a man draped in an intricate tapestry of dark robes, bore the visage of a wizard with a long, flowing beard that seemed to whisper ancient incantations. His eyes, deep pools of arcane knowledge, held an unwavering gaze that pierced through the monstrous assembly. As monsters attempted to assert their dominance, he merely raised a hand, and an invisible force quelled their arrogance, rendering them powerless before him. A shaman, adorned in tribal regalia, danced with a primal grace, his movements a rhythmic invocation that resonated with the forces of nature. With a mere gesture, he commanded the elements, summoning gusts of wind and torrents of water to shield him from the aggression of the monstrous horde. The creatures, momentarily bewildered by the unexpected display of elemental mastery, faltered in their advances. A voodoo priest, adorned in intricate beads and feathers, exuded an aura of mysticism that permeated the air. As monsters lunged towards him, he spoke in ancient tongues, invoking spirits that materialized with a spectral ferocity. The ethereal guardians, unseen by the naked eye, dismantled the assailants with an otherworldly force, leaving only a chilling silence in their wake. These human figures, standing as bastions of arcane powers, defied the arrogance of the monstrous throng. Dark wizards, shamans, and voodoo priests seamlessly blended into the shadows, their collective presence a formidable force that instilled fear even in the most grotesque of beings. As the monsters underestimated the power veiled beneath the guise of humanity, they found themselves swiftly vanquished by the subtle mastery of these enigmatic figures, who held a silent dominion over the occult forces that shaped the very fabric of their reality. Another figure, adorned in intricately beaded garments and adorned with feathers, stepped forward, the Manitou shaman Brokil Uvaska. His weathered face bore the marks of countless years, etched with the wisdom that came from a profound connection with the spirits of the land. As he raised his hands, the air itself seemed to ripple with a mystical energy, and the totemic spirits stirred in response. Animal totems materialized around him, ephemeral yet potent symbols of the natural world's raw power. Majestic eagles circled above, their eyes sharp and vigilant, while wolves prowled at his side, embodying the untamed spirit of the wilderness. Serpents slithered gracefully around his form, a representation of transformation and rebirth. Each totem, a manifestation of the shaman's mastery over the primal forces of nature, danced in ethereal unison, weaving a living tapestry of mystic energy. With a deep connection to the Manitou, the shaman seamlessly merged with the essence of the totemic creatures. His eyes took on an otherworldly glow, mirroring the fierce intensity of the eagle, the keen intelligence of the wolf, and the serpentine grace that defied his every movement. He became an embodiment of the harmonious balance between man and nature, a conduit through which the spirits could channel their divine energy. As the monsters, emboldened by their malevolent strength, surged forward, the Manitou shaman raised his hand, invoking the spirits of his totemic allies. The wolves, with their fur aglow with an otherworldly light, pounced with primal ferocity, tearing through the ranks of the grotesque horde. Eagles descended with talons outstretched, their piercing cries echoing through the night as they scattered the monstrous assembly. Serpents slithered with supernatural speed, entwining and ensnaring any who dared challenge the shaman's dominion. In a dance of power and symbiosis, the Manitou shaman seamlessly fused his essence with the totems, becoming a living conduit for the primal forces that surged through the natural world. The monsters, confronted by a force they could not comprehend, recoiled in the face of this ancient shamanic power. "The ships I enchanted have not even departed yet," Inyana says. "How did these beasts even make it through the magical storms around the island?" Kazura shakes his head, throwing his hands up. "There must be some other magical ways to bypass the barrier that not even Cedrion is aware of. It doesn't matter. The more the merrier. They will only serve to empower the Grand General and Yamura for their inevitable showdown. We will not be able to continue stalling for much longer. Even now, the competitors that arrived early have begun to stalk the ships of the new arrivals. I am not confident that they can be placated for another week," Inyana says. "How are you even sure my brother will have taken the bait?" "He will come," Kazura says. "His vessel will not pass up the opportunity at revenge for his mother and girlfriend." "Why all this extravagance?" Hui asks, irritated. "If we only need Yamura's vessel, why invite all these other dregs to just get in our way?" "All of the competitors will continue to kill each other, stacking their combined power until you decide to claim the spoils. Once you kill the other combatants and absorb their power, you will easily defeat Yamura and pass the shrine's first trial of strength," Kazura explains. "Why not have one of these monsters kill Yamura in his sleep? Why must we hold a tournament? I dislike ordered combat and forced rules. If the Grand General is eligible to enter the shrine, why do we not focus only on building him up so that he may pass all the trials? Inyana asks. Your brother's vessel is a rare treasure that we require to pass the Yazatan trials. His blood possesses the DNA of the Yazata warriors of old. We must make sure that Yamura's vessel is at its peak and has only already entered the shrine before Hui is allowed to kill him. Only that boy will be able to complete the trials within the shrine, Kazura says. I thought you said that I too could enter the shrine, Hui growls. You are permitted to enter, yes, but without Yazatan ancestry I do not think you will be able to complete all of the trials. Cedrion has been vague in his details, but he has stressed that Yazatan blood is a key component of passing the trials. So when he completes the trials and claims the Monokozka, I swoop in to kill him and take it for myself? Hui asks. Kazura nods. At which point you will then open the pathway to Averno with the Monokozka's power. We need only stick to the plans I've detailed, and we will all get what we desire most. Inyana eyes Kazura with suspicion. She knows that he is lying to Hui. The Grand General is to be sacrificed in order for Yamura to gain the power he needs to enter the shrine and begin the trials. She wonders then, what is in Osria's incarnation hiding from her as well? In Delgian, Council Hall of the Elders. 3 highly respected and experienced masters enter the Council Hall unannounced. They made an unprecedented and sudden entrance, bypassing the vigilant guards without obstruction. As they strode into the council chamber, whispers spread like wildfire among the assembled elders. Each exchanged puzzled glances at the unannounced intrusion, yet the guards remained motionless, hesitant to intervene, for several reasons played on their minds. Firstly, the mages wielded considerable authority and respect, their names synonymous with wisdom and foresight. The guards, well aware of their esteemed status within the magical community, hesitated to challenge them without explicit orders from higher authorities. Secondly, the urgency of the mages' arrival was palpable. Their unannounced intrusion hinted at an impending crisis or pressing matter of utmost importance, compelling the guards to tread cautiously and refrain from obstructing their path. Furthermore, the political landscape of the city whispered of alliances and power plays. It was no secret that the respected mages held sway over influential members of the council, their connections and alliances casting shadows of doubt upon the guards' ability to enforce protocol without repercussions. Masters, Elder Olgstrom is confused by their sudden arrival. We didn't send for you. Is something the matter? Well, actually there is, Master Vera Elowin says. We heard that you had decided not to send any masters or knights to Jyaki Island. Is this true? Vera Elowin exuded an aura of an unwavering resolve and stoic determination, her countenance a reflection of her unwavering dedication to the city's well-being. With a furrowed brow and lips pressed into a thin line, she radiated an aura of authority tempered by compassion. Her eyes, ablaze with righteous indignation, betrayed her disdain for the council's handling of the crisis, a sentiment mirrored in the set of her jaw and the steel in her voice. She was a tall and regal figure draped in flowering robes of deep emerald beneath her official cloak. The wise mage commanded attention with her piercing gaze and dignified bearing. Strands of silver threaded through her ebony hair, accentuating the wisdom etched upon her ageless visage. A staff adorned with intricate runes crackling with latent magic was clutched firmly in her grasp, a striking reminder of her mastery of the arcane and sharp temper. The details of that assignment have not been made public, Ilda Lori says. So it is true, Elowin asks with sarcasm in her voice. She already knows the answer to her question, but in her experience with the elders they are rarely direct. The crafty bureaucrats will take every opportunity to omit details and skirt around the entirety of the truth. So then there are masters being sent to lead this mission. Who is it that you are sending, and why were we not the first to be contacted? Master Iris Seraphina asks. I believe that we are more than qualified enough for this assignment. We have much experience in battle against non-human creatures. Iris Seraphina was an ethereal beauty with cascading locks of iridescent silver. She moved with a grace that seemed to defy mortal bounds. Despite having silver hair, the master was only in her 30s, having accumulated lifetimes of knowledge and experience in only a few decades. Beneath her official cloak was a longer set of robes that were a shimmering tapestry of shifting hues, reminiscent of the twilight sky, trailing behind her like wisps of moonlight. Adorned with delicate jewelry imbued with subtle enchantments, she seemed to radiate an otherworldly presence that captivated all who beheld her. With a gentle yet firm demeanor, she carried herself with an air of quiet confidence, her voice resonating with the melodic cadence of one accustomed to wielding both words and magic with equal skill. Though her expression remained serene, a flicker of concern danced within her gaze, hinting at the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. "Your experience would be better used here defending the city," Elder Pola says. "The chances of defeating the combatants in the Sakari's tournament are too low for us to sacrifice valuable resources." "Did you just say what I think you did?" Master Lysander Orion growls. Lysander Orion possessed a keen intellect and a penchant for cunning that set him apart from his peers. His piercing sapphire eyes, framed by a mane of midnight locks, streaked with silver, seemed to pierce through the veil of reality with unnerving clarity. With a sardonic smirk playing upon his lips and a glint of mischief in his eyes, he approached the council with a mixture of skepticism and disdain. Despite his aloof demeanor, there was a fierce loyalty burning within him, a determination to safeguard the city from the encroaching darkness at any cost. His words, laced with biting wit and unbridled passion, carried the weight of a man who had seen the horrors lurking beyond the city's walls, and vowed to confront them head-on. "I think the elders just admitted to sacrificing province and apprentices, knowing that they likely will not be returning," Seraphina says. "It is almost as if they are using this as an opportunity to be rid of mages that they see as vocal opposition to their authority," Elwyn adds. "If that were the case, Master Forgeron would be leading the mission," Elder Pola growls. "You're speaking conspiracy theories." "Oh, the same Master Forgeron that you just stripped of all duties and authority?" Orion asks. "Do you have anything of substance to bring before us, or just lob baseless accusations?" Elder Olgstrom asks. Throughout this, Elders Gioconda and Falv are present, but say nothing. The two more independently thinking elders take in the arguments from both sides, forming their own opinions. They aren't wrong in thinking Danny and the others are being sent to their deaths. In fact, they have had the same concerns. "It is imperative that we take action," Master Elwyn declared, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of wisdom. "The threat posed by the undead hordes grows with each passing day, and the isolation of Jyaki Island only serves to exacerbate the situation. We cannot afford to stand idly by while our enemies gather strength beyond our borders." Master Seraphina nodded in agreement, her gaze unwavering as she met the eyes of each elder in turn. "The tournament presents a unique opportunity to forge alliances and bolster our defenses against the encroaching darkness. To ignore such a chance would be a grave mistake." Master Orion, his expression a mask of calculated indifference, added his voice to the chorus of dissent. "We have faced trials far greater than this in the past, and yet we have always emerged victorious. But victory requires action, not idle speculation. We must act now, before it is too late." Amidst the fervor of their impassioned pleas, two of the elders exchanged a meaningful glance, their silence speaking through volumes of the doubts that lingered within their hearts. Though they dared not voice their concerns aloud, the weight of their unspoken agreement hung heavy in the air, a silent acknowledgement of the validity of the mage's words. As the council chamber bristled with tension, the majority of the elders' skepticism cast a shadow over Master Seraphina's assertion that alliances could be forged on Jyaki Island amidst the chaos of the upcoming tournament. Their voices, tinged with doubt and apprehension, cut through the air like a chilling wind, challenging the very foundation of her proposal. "Master Seraphina," Elder Gwyn began, his voice resonating with authority as he addressed the mage directly. "Forgive my bluntness, but how can we entertain the notion of forming alliances amidst a gathering of monsters and demons? The very nature of the tournament suggests treachery and deceit at every turn." Yes. What alliances could you possibly imagine we could form from that tournament? Elder Olgstrom asks. The Jyaki competition is open to all supernatural creatures. Monsters and demons of all shapes and sizes will be chomping at the bit to get a piece of the action, and a chance at that Yarzavtan artifact. Elder Gioconda nodded in agreement, her expression grave as she voiced her concerns. Indeed, Master Seraphina, while your optimism is admirable, it is also dangerously naive. We cannot afford to underestimate the dangers that await us on Jyaki Island. To trust in the goodwill of creatures whose very existence is a threat to our city would be folly. Master Seraphina, undeterred by the elder's skepticism, met their challenges with a quiet resolve, her gaze steady and unwavering. Respected elders, she began, her voice calm yet firm, I understand your concerns, but we must not allow fear to cloud our judgment. The tournament presents an opportunity for dialogue and diplomacy, a chance to find common ground amidst the chaos. Surely not all of the competitors will be evil creatures. If we are to enter, what is to stop others with similar noble intentions? Stopping evil from winning the tournament cannot be our burden alone. Others will have the same desire in their hearts. As the elders persisted in their skepticism, their voices laced with doubt and distrust, Master Seraphina remained steadfast in her belief that the upcoming tournament presented a unique opportunity for diplomacy and cooperation. With a calm, yet resolute demeanor, she countered their assertions, her words infused with the conviction born of a deep understanding of the supernatural world beyond the city's walls. Motivated by Seraphina's passion, Master Elowin speaks up. Elders, she began, her voice carrying the weight of her wisdom and experience. While it is true that many of the beings participating in the tournament may indeed be considered monsters or demons by conventional standards, we must not overlook the diversity and complexity of the supernatural world. Consider the Fae, she continued, her gaze sweeping across the assembled elders. These beings, while possessing powers beyond mortal comprehension, are not inherently malevolent. In fact, many among them are known for their sense of honor and integrity, and could prove valuable allies in our struggle against the undead hordes. And what of the shapeshifters? Master Seraphina asked, her tone measured yet impassioned. Though they may appear fearsome to the untrained eye, their ability to assume various forms grants them a unique perspective on the world around them. With their keen senses and adaptability, they could prove invaluable allies in our efforts to defend this city. Furthermore, Master Elowin continued, her voice gaining momentum, let us not forget the magic users of the world outside of this city. There are many powerful shamans and priests that wield considerable power in their own right. Though their methods may differ from ours, their knowledge and expertise could offer valuable insights into combating our common foes. Like we could ever trust dirty shapeshifters or witch doctors, Elder Pola scoffs. They are too ignorant of the power they possess to deserve the right to that power at all. What? Master Seraphina is caught off guard by the man's hateful speech. No one has the authority to determine who can and cannot use magic. Magic is a fundamental force of reality. No single organization can lay sole claim to the essence of the universe's magical energy. Master Orion notices the hateful scowl painted upon the face of Elder Pola. I would argue that some here do think they have that right. This matter has already been settled, Elder Guerin speaks up, trying to avoid further tension. Should things escalate, a fight might break out, and that would be bad for everyone involved. The mages assigned to this mission have already been selected by this council. We appreciate your concerns, and your ideas will be noted, but as of now, this discussion is concluded. Just like that, huh? Master Orion growls. Anyone dares disagree with you, and they're shoved aside and ignored. You are not being ignored, Master, Elder Guerin says. You have spoken what is on your minds, but in the end, we have the final say in all matters regarding the city. Enjoy your authority while you can, Master Seraphina growls. You won't be able to cover up this atrocity when those provosts fail to return. It will not just be the three of us that demand you are held accountable for your negligence. The sentiment among those who truly keep this city safe and running is quickly turning against you and your obvious corruption. I would advise you to say no more on this matter, Elder Guerin says. You are teetering very close to treason. Ah, yes, Master Seraphina says with sarcasm in her voice. Threats to silence our opinions. You embrace your authoritarian roles quite well. Come on, Master Elowin whispers, tugging lightly at her friend's cloak. We have spoken our minds. The elders will not change theirs. The three masters leave the council hall, and the elders trade uncomfortable looks between themselves. Why can't we just send them like they want? Elder Lore asks. It would be killing two birds with one stone. What do you mean by that? Elder Gioconda asks, concerned by the implications. Could the rumors be true? Are the other elders using this tournament as an opportunity to rid themselves of political opposition and dissent? Do they have no intention of trying to win the tournament at all? Is that truly why we are not sending any masters to Jyaki? They want to go to Jyaki, so if we let them, there really is no downside for us. We will remove some negative opinion by giving in, and if they succeed, they will be heroes and forget about this conversation, Elder Lore argues. And if they die on that island, Elder Guerin asks. Well, we won't have to worry about them staging a coup when they return, will we? Elder Lore laughs. They're not alone, Elder Stom says. I have heard many a faint whisper in the streets and halls of the displeasure of our decisions and edicts. That comes with the job, Elder Olgstrom says dismissively. No leader has 100% approval rating. We cannot appease everyone. Trying to do so would make us ineffective as leaders. It may not hurt to first get a sense of what the people of the city think, Elder Urius suggests. Gauge our response through some discreet measuring. We're the leadership of Endelgian, Elder Olgstrom growls. Why should we base our judgments on public opinion? This is not a democracy. We are in charge because we are wiser and more fit to run the city. Let's not make any hasty decisions just yet, Elder Gioconda interrupts. There are still many factors left to consider in this matter. Elder Lore does raise a valid point, Elder Guerin acknowledged, his brows furrowed in contemplation. If we allow the mages to proceed to Jyaki Island, we stand to gain from a strategic standpoint. By appeasing their desires, we may indeed quell dissent and alleviate public scrutiny, thereby mitigating potential unrest within the city. However, Elder Gioconda's measured intervention served as a sobering reminder of the weighty responsibilities that rested upon their shoulders. Let us not be swayed by expediency alone, she cautioned, her voice a steadying influence amidst the swirling currents of debate. The lives of our esteemed mages are not to be wagered lightly. We must consider the potential consequences of our actions with utmost care. Elder Guerin, leaning forward with a pensive expression, voiced his concerns. While I understand the strategic benefits of allowing the mages to embark on this endeavor, we cannot ignore the potential ramifications of failure. The repercussions of losing esteemed members of our magical community would be felt far beyond the confines of this chamber. Elder Lore, however, countered with a pragmatic retort. But what of the potential gains? If they succeed, we will not only rid ourselves of dissension, but also gain heroes whose achievements could bolster our city's morale and reputation. Is it not worth the risk? Elder Gioconda, her gaze unwavering, interjected once more. We must consider not only the immediate outcomes, but also the long-term implications of our actions. Allowing the mages to proceed may alleviate current tensions, but at what cost? We must weigh the value of short-term appeasement against the enduring consequences of our decisions. Elder Falv, who had been silently observing the debate, spoke up with a solemn tone. Let us not forget the duty we owe to our people. It is our responsibility to safeguard their interests and ensure their well-being. If we send our most skilled mages into the unknown, we must be prepared to face the consequences, whatever they may be. There is also the threat posed by the Yazdan artifact being awarded to whoever or whatever wins in Yana's tournament, Elder Urius says. We have no idea what the artifact may be or its power. Such an artifact may be a danger even to us here in the city." The chamber fell into a contemplative silence as the weight of their deliberations hung heavy in the air. Each elder grappled with their own convictions and concerns, knowing that the decision they made in that moment would shape the future of their city for generations to come. In the face of uncertainty, they knew they could not afford to act rashly, but must instead navigate the delicate balance between risk and reward with wisdom and foresight. "Enough of this hand-wringing," Elder Olgstrom sneered, his voice resonating with contempt. "The lives of a few mages are of little consequence compared to the stability of our rule. If they wish to venture to Jyaki Island, so be it. Let them play their little games while we maintain our grip on power." Elder Pola, his features twisted into a cruel smirk, echoed his sentiments with a derisive laugh. "Indeed, the potential loss of a few mages pales in comparison to the threat they pose to our authority. If they seek to challenge us, let them do so from the depths of the Pacific Ocean." He begins to laugh, frightening both Gioconda and Falv with his malicious thoughts. "Because we all know that the monsters of Jyaki Island will just dump their bodies into the abyss when they are finished with them." "Eesh," Elder Urius says through gritted teeth. "I know you hate Master Orion, but don't you think wishing for his death is a little harsh?" "You don't know that bastard like I do," Elder Pola growls, balling his fists. "He'd wish the same upon us if he had the chance." "Personal opinions and past history should not be permitted into our decision-making process," Elder Falv says. "I believe the two of you should recuse yourselves from this matter." "Who the hell do you think you are?" Elder Olgstrom growls. "We have as much say in this decision as anyone else." "Your emotions have gotten the best of you," Elder Falv remains calm. "Thinking before you speak would be beneficial. Sometimes, less is more." The hatred espoused by Elders Olgstrom and Pola caught several of their peers off guard. Their callous disregard for the lives of their fellow mages sent a shiver down the spines of those assembled, their words serving as a chilling reminder of the depths of their ambition and ruthlessness. For Elders Olgstrom and Pola, the safety and well-being of the mages mattered little in comparison to their own quest for power and dominance. Elder Gioconda, her expression darkening with concern, attempted to interject, but her words were drowned out by the arrogant laughter of her peers. As the debate descended into chaos, the true nature of the council's inner workings was laid bare for all to see. A cesspool of intrigue and betrayal, where loyalty was a fleeting illusion and power was the only currency that mattered. In the face of such corruption and malice, the fate of the mages seemed increasingly uncertain, their destinies intertwined with the machinations of those who sought to manipulate them for their own selfish ends. And as the council chamber echoed with the echoes of their depravity, the city teetered on the brink of chaos, its future hanging in the balance. "My esteemed colleagues," Elder Guerin spoke up, his voice carrying the weight of authority and conviction. "It is clear that our city faces threats the likes of which we have never seen before. The undead hordes grow in number with each passing day, and now, with the emergence of these De Inferni creatures, our need for protection has never been greater." "What are you saying?" Elder Pola asks. "That the undead would dare attack the city? Impossible! The creatures of the wastes have never made it past the 4 remaining checkpoints." "That was before we knew about the De Inferni and the possibility that revenants have a limitless potential for growth and evolution," Elder Lore says. "Now that we are both fully aware of the other's existence, it is likely that the De Inferni are strategizing this very moment about what steps must be taken to ensure their own survival, much like ourselves. And they will have come to the same conclusions as we have," Elder Stom says. "War is inevitable. We will not be able to coexist. The skills and expertise of Masters Elowen, Seraphina, and Orion are needed here, within the walls of our city, to defend against these encroaching threats. It is imperative that we marshal all available resources to safeguard our people and preserve our way of life. We do not know the numbers or the full power of our enemy," Elder Lore says. Sending our masters away now would be foolish. A war waged on two fronts cannot be maintained, Elder Stom says. We must prioritize the defense of Endelgion above all else. With a nod of acknowledgement, Elder Guerin continued. While the prospect of venturing to Jyaki Island may hold promise, the risks far outweigh the potential benefits. We cannot afford to deplete our defenses or diminish our ranks in the face of such peril. Our duty lies here within the confines of our city, where our presence is most sorely needed. Let us never forget that the safety and security of our city must always remain our top priority. Whatever transpires in the mortal realm, whether it be the outcome of the Jyaki tournament, or the actions of those who seek to challenge our authority, will be dealt with in due time. He paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. Our brave knights and master magicians stand ready to defend Endelgion against any threat, be it from within or without. Should the victor of the Jyaki tournament prove to be a force of darkness, they will find themselves facing the full might of our combined forces. An alliance forged in the fires of adversity, and tempered by the strength of our resolve, he concluded with a note of unwavering determination. Let us stand united in our commitment to protect our city and its people at all costs. Whatever challenges may lie ahead, we will face them together with courage, honor, and unwavering resolve. While Elder Guerin puts on a face of unity and concern, Elders Gioconda and Falv cannot help but question the sincerity of his motivations. Like Elders Stom and Lori, he has demonstrated a lack of compassion and even malice towards other members of their community. The two elders share a concerned look, both knowing what the other is thinking. At this point, neither is sure whom they can trust on the council, and what the true intentions of their peers are. Cerberus Offices, Los Angeles, California. The Devils Mammon and Gualechu discuss in private matters regarding the upcoming tournament being held on Jyaki Island. As the Devils selected to represent their interests in the mortal world, they must maintain the positions of power held by their kind over man. If anyone other than a member of their group were to claim the Bonakozka, the tortures that await such failure would be far worse than death. Why are we playing the Sakari's game? Gualechu asks. Would it not be easier to just go to Jyaki Island and kill everyone and take the Bonakozka for ourselves? Now that we know its location, it should be a simple feat. Knowing the location of the weapon is not enough. Have you forgotten the curse placed upon that blade? No Yazato or devil shall ever be able to touch the Bonakozka. Only a mortal human can lay claim to that weapon. I do not know how, but Inyana must be aware of this stipulation. I suspect she is using the tournament to find a suitable champion to claim the Bonakozka for her, Mammon says. Gualechu scoffs in irritation. I don't like being forced to play by the rules. Mammon laughs. None of us do, but it will only be for a short while. As soon as our victory is assured, kill Inyana, and we will select our own human to claim the weapon for ourselves. Surely you can find someone that would do us such a valuable favor. Gualechu grins. Oh, I have a few ideas. There are quite a few humans who would sell their souls to have a devil indebted to them. Quite literally, Mammon laughs. Just make sure that they can be manipulated. The last thing we need is to be double-crossed by some human who tries to wield the Bonakozka against us. In the wrong hands, that weapon could destroy all of reality. Gualechu shudders at the thought. He has never seen the cursed blade in person before, but he has heard the legendary stories of its terrible power. Created during the First War of Falling by Sane and his mages, the weapon was used against the armies of the Seraphim to great success. Sane was nearly successful in defeating all of his opposition, if not for the bravery of the Archie Mikhail and Sataniel. Sane would have been victorious, and made himself the new god of all creation. If they are able to get their hands on the Bonakozka, the devils would be able to finish what Sane started and eradicate all of the Seraphim. With one of the two legendary heroes out of the picture, only General Mikhail would pose a threat. A single strike from the Bonokoska would take care of him, Walachi thinks with a smile. Oh, how I would enjoy seeing that. A former member of Mikhail's first choir, Walachi was once known by a different name, the Yazata Gwaliel. Within the First War, he was an unranked soldier, someone that Mikhail had never even bothered to learn their name. As a devil, Gwalichi was one of the Knights of the Fly, and one of the most powerful forces within the human world, working to influence and shape it to the image that he and his allies envisioned for the future. Have you put your team together for the tournament? Mammon asks. I would suggest no more than 3 or 4 foot soldiers accompany you. A large display of power at once would surely draw the attention of the Seraphim. Do you not think that the Yazda will already be monitoring Jyaki Island closely? It is hard to say. The magic that prevents us from reaching the island also prevents the Yazda from seeing what occurs on it. I am sure they know of the tournament, but beyond that, I do not think there is anything they will be able to do. Short of send their own to try and infiltrate the competition, Walachu adds. Mammon nods. Great minds think alike. Yes, I do believe some of the Yazda will be sent to try and prevent anyone from claiming the Bonokoska. We must be ever vigilant. No one suspected of being a Yazda can be allowed to survive to participate in the tournament. If you have an inkling that someone is a Yazda, kill them on the spot. If one of those bastards makes it into the tournament, the rules will make it very difficult for us to get rid of them. I have just the men in mind to bring with me, Walachi says. They are very loyal and equally bloodthirsty. Mammon nods. Good. Trustworthiness will be very crucial. The betrayal of some power-hungry upstart could undo our entire plan. A woman enters the room, looking upset and full of apprehension. Sir? Mammon reads the woman's expression instantly. What is it? Has something happened? Came, she whispers. He has failed. The humans have wiped out his team. There was not a single survivor. Mammon's eyes widen in surprise. Impossible. I know they were able to kill Benahil, but he was unprepared and arrogant. Kame knew what he was getting into. He was thoroughly prepared. Mammon begins to pace back and forth with concern, trying not to give in to the furious rage that is welling up within. The devil wants nothing more than to bring the full might of their forces upon the humans of Silver Fox. Kill every last one of them. He knows this would not be a wise decision, but his emotions are difficult to control. The humans have disrespected them and must be made to pay for their crimes. It seems the humans of Silver Fox are more dangerous than any of us thought, Walachi says. Does this change anything for us? No, Mammon takes a second to collect himself. You will continue with your operation. I will take care of Silver Fox myself. Walachi nods, leaving the room to gather his men and depart for Jyaki Island. How were they able to defeat Kame? Mammon wonders. Have the humans developed a way to counter our abilities? Have they come up with an advanced form of exorcism? I must get more information before acting this time. I cannot afford to make the same mistake as Kame. We'll have to take this slow and methodical if I want to make sure we are successful. Magical City in the Astral Realm and Delgian, December 13th, 1998. Danny walks into the tool shop of Master Hagano. The man is busy in the back, making finishing touches on his most recent job. Danny browses while she waits, looking for any items that might be useful on Jyaki. You really brought me one hell of a Draugr, Master Hagano says. I was expecting a glorified revenant, but what you took down was unlike anything I've ever seen before. Does that affect what you're making? Danny asks. Yes, but in a good way. Your tool is going to be far more powerful than I planned. Do you have any details for me? Hagano smiles. Do you want to see what I've done so far? Are you finished already? Pretty much. I just need to put some finishing touches on them. Them? Master Hagano smiles and leads Danny to the back room, where 2 red gauntlets lie on the table with matching bracers. You'll have to wear both the gauntlets and the bracers to get the full effect. Danny picks up the gauntlets, looking them over with astonishment. How do they work? The enchantments on the gauntlets will allow you to absorb magical energy from any target you strike and store it in the bracers. You'll be able to keep track of your charge by the color of the bracers. When they are fully charged, they will glow brightly. As you use the magic you have stored, the glow will lessen to what you see here. And to charge them back up, I just need to punch something? Danny asks, trying on the gauntlets. Hagano nods. But be careful not to damage them. If either the gauntlets or the bracers are broken, you won't be able to use either of them. The Draugr's exoskeleton was tough, but not invincible. I'll be careful. I can't risk them breaking. I still have, 2 weeks until my magic returns naturally. Give me a few more hours, and I'll reinforce them with some enchanted metals. They should be able to take a few direct hits before breaking with enough thickness. I can't risk making them too thick, or it will defeat the purpose of needing to strike opponents to charge them up. You'll be slowed down far too much. Danny nods. I appreciate all of your care in this matter. A lot is riding on my success. I can't thank you enough. Hagano gives the girl a stern nod of acknowledgement. Just don't be too reckless out there. These tools are powerful, but they aren't invincible. You go up against a tough enough opponent, and even one strike might damage them beyond repair. Danny takes all of the master's words to heart. I will be as careful as I'm able. Hagano sighs loudly. I suppose that is the best I can ask of a youth like you, not to be reckless. Danny sets the bracers back on the table. Me? Reckless? Never. Hagano stares at her, trying to figure out just how sarcastic the teen is being. You risked your life to go out into the waste to fight an undead monster that specialized in eating mages, so that I can make these tools for you. I'm not sure if you're reckless, or if you just have no value for your own life. Oh, trust me, I value my life, Danny says. I just value the lives of my friends even more. If I have to put myself at risk to help them, I won't think twice. Hagano nods. That's very admirable. I can see that I was right to agree to make these tools for you. You do not seem to be the kind of person that would abuse your power. I do not like making tools for mages who only want to grow their own power or influence. That isn't me at all, Danny says. I just have to do something to protect my friends with this tournament coming up. Without any magical power, I'm absolutely useless. Now, you've given me the ability to not only be not useless, but to actually be able to make a real difference. I still have some tinkering left to do, Hagano says. I can't let these go out the door until I'm completely satisfied they'll do the job. You, little lady, are going to be wearing my magnum opus. Danny smiles. I will return in a few hours. Thank you again. Elsewhere in the barracks of the Knights of Solomon, Bautis, Akanzi, and the other seated officers are gathered in secret conference, with several masters in whom they have long placed their utmost trust. While they are not as openly scornful and rebellious against the elders as others, like Fordron and the Blackwings, it is impossible for them to deny the city's leadership is out of touch, and that is leading to dangerous decisions born out of emotion and pride. The existence of these D'inferni is very troubling indeed, Akanzi says, and their immense strength does not forbade well force. It took everything I had, and it kept coming, Vathis explains. That thing was relentless, and absorbed my strongest spells like a sponge. Without Savage Colosseum, I don't think I could have prevailed. Strength beyond a blaspheme, greater intelligence, and the ability to consume magic like a Draugr, Master Aethrim Kavila says. How are we just now finding out about these things? I don't think there have ever been many of them, Vathis says. Not only are they rare, but the conditions of their creation seem to be very complicated. From what you've told us, they require both exorbitant amounts of energy and at least one human soul, Kanzi says. Bottas nods. That's just what I managed to gather from the two I fought. I didn't exactly have a large sample size to work with. There must be a mention of them somewhere in our archives, Master Ladija Marley says. Why don't we begin searching this enemy there as our starting point? Surely we could learn from our predecessors some vital clue to assist us with this threat. If previous mages have encountered members of the D Inferni before, they must have been victorious, Master Chris Rayner says. If they hadn't, the Infernals would have only grown to become an even greater threat. But if that was the case, then why is their existence not common knowledge? Akanzi asks. Even if none of us ever encounter one, we're all instructed in the various methods of combating and disposing of hundreds of different magical and supernatural entities. Why would the D Inferni be any different? There are records kept of creatures seen only once in all of recorded history. For that matter, there are entries of even those that have only been spoken of and never encountered directly. Could their admittance from our bestiaries be a deliberate action? Master Marley asks. The other mages share a look of grave concern. For what purpose might one conceal the existence of an enemy? Master Kavila asks. To surprise us in the future? Third seat Tamagai replies, unsure. That would insinuate that a mage from our past wanted the D Inferni to catch us off guard, Akanzi says. A traitor that far removed from our memories would be nearly impossible to identify. And why would a human mage assist literal soul-eating ghost monsters? Sixth seat Rector asks. None of this makes any sense. I just don't see any motive. I think there was a human component to the D Inferni I encountered, Fada says. It's possible that along the line somewhere, the revenants that would go on to become those creatures may have killed and absorbed one or more of our mages. Or a rogue with a grudge against Indelgian, Master Kavila suggests. Perhaps that grudge continued to fester within the host body, long after all other aspects of the human personality dissolved. If the D Inferni were just some extremely rare mutation of revenants, they would have attacked our knights in the past. I cannot accept that they appeared out of nowhere, without any history whatsoever, Master Reiner says. He looks to Master Marley. I shall assist you in researching any useful information on this enemy in the archives. I have a feeling that if we do not get to the bottom of this quickly, something terrible will befall the city, and all of mankind. Maybe the evolution of these D Inferni is something new, Rector suggests. Like the reason for never seeing them before is because they didn't exist. I don't know, Bottas is unsure. They didn't seem like they were new to their forms or abilities. Both of the Infernals that I fought seemed to have a firm grasp on their powers. They weren't clumsy or awkward with their bodies like the Draugr that ate each other and evolved into a blaspheme in front of us. The one that also consumed the mage Apprentice Livingston reported was hiding in the Yetzirah, Akanzi asks. Bottas nods. He claimed to have been a survivor of the fall of Checkpoint 5 over 80 years ago. He would have had to have been at least 100 years old for that to have been true, Master Rui says. It's not impossible, but it does seem suspect, Kanzi whispers in thought. Perhaps he was already a spirit, was just not aware of his previous passing all of those years ago. Any human spirit in the waste would have been under constant attack, Master Kavila says. I find him being able to fend the revenants off on his own that long to be highly unlikely. Well, aside from the D Inferni, we also have the Sakari and Yana in our tournament to worry about, Master Pascal Rousseau says. The elders have already decided who will be sent, Master Conrad Haviland says. There's not much else we can do about that. And have you seen who exactly they are sending? Bottas asks angrily. All provosts and apprentices. And Yana's tournament is going to draw powerful monsters in from all over the world. Even the participation of a master wouldn't guarantee total victory. The elders are sending them on a suicide mission. Does that really surprise you? Master Rousseau asks. Anyone that questions the elders becomes disposable. Why do you think we have to gather like this on our own instead of in council with them? So, are we going to do something? Vatus asks. If we don't, they're all going to be killed. Didn't you already volunteer to be a part of the expedition to the Yetzira to further investigate the existence of the D'inferni? Master Haviland asks. Well, yeah, but... Vatus mutters, conflicted. Obviously, a separate team needs to be sent to Jyaki Island, Master Rousseau says. One composed of master-level magicians, selected by us, not the elders. Openly challenging the elders at this point would not be wise, Akanzi says. They still wield a lot of power and control in the city. Any moves that we make must be made discreetly, which is why neither of you can be allowed to be on that team, Master Rousseau says. The elders will notice your absences immediately. But, Vatus begins to argue. No, he is absolutely correct, Master Marguerite Lambert says. You're too close to this issue. The team must be mages that will not be noticed by the elders in their absence from the city. They must also be mages that we can trust, Master Cavil says. Mages that will not leak our plans to the elders, or anyone else not within our circle. I will take it upon myself to lead this team, Master Rousseau says. I will carefully vet each member to be selected. And I will join you, Master Lambert says. I would not feel right sending the young and inexperienced off to die while we did nothing. No, this is the right thing to do. Surely the elders will be monitoring any movement to the mortal realm, Master Haviland says. They'll know if we attempt to send a team out. We could try to remain in contact with the official team and coach them through their battles from afar, Rector says, rather than sending in our own team. Kanzi shakes his head. There's a powerful magical storm surrounding Jyaki Island that nullifies any outside spellcraft. Teleportation and communications will be blocked to and from the island. It would be impossible to contact anyone once they reach their destination. Then we'll need to provide a distraction long enough for our team to slip past the notice of the elders and teleport to the mortal realm, Master Lambert says. I will devise a suitable diversion and work with Masters Rousseau and Lambert for their escape window, Tamagai says. The rest of you focus on the D'inferni. If they attack us before we know more about them, all of our efforts will be in vain. We need to understand this enemy and their weaknesses as soon as possible. Kanzi nods. Agreed. We must all work hard towards the preservation of not only our city and fellow mages, but all of the mortal realm. I fear that if the D'inferni or Ignanus tournaments swing against us, and we are ill-prepared, the results would be catastrophic. Master Lambert looks accusingly towards Vatus. You cannot tell Apprentice Livingston our plans. She may be trustworthy, but we cannot risk our efforts being leaked to the elders. Too much is riding upon our secrecy in this matter. Vatus slowly nods. I understand. It won't be easy lying to her like that, but I know it's for the best. I wish everyone good luck, Kanzi says. I'm afraid I share the same concerns as you all. The D'inferni claim to have an authority structure and have displayed human equivalent language and reasoning. A being such as that will not be content being isolated in the Yetzira forever. They may have been in some kind of dormancy before, but we surely have stirred them to action now. I have a feeling that they will soon make a move on either our city or the mortal realm. Either way, we must be as prepared for their attack as possible. Vatus shrinks back in embarrassment and shame. Yeah, sorry about that. It does not matter now the who or the why, Akanzi says. All that matters now is when and how. When they will attack, and how will we respond. The elders still intend to send their own investigative team into the Yetzira, Master Haviland says. I believe that team should be composed of as many of us in this room as possible. Master Kavila nods. We would be better off keeping the amount of mages loyal to the elders as low as possible. We have many delicate issues to balance and decisions to make, Kanzi says. Everything we do from this point on must be carefully measured and thought out. We are surrounded by enemies on all sides now. Yeah, Bodice says. I can think of at least 9 of them being enemies from within. We cannot assume all of the elders are against us, Master Roy says. The others may just be staunchly traditional and see the world only in shades of black and white. Regardless, we cannot trust anyone outside of this room for now, Kanzi says. Not until we gain more information on our enemies. Brighton, Florida, December 13th, 1998. Katrina Phelps, formerly the assassin, turned bodyguard known as Candy Stripe, sits on a medical table. IVs and tubes run from her arms and back as the young woman works to infuse herself with the fluids of various colors. Within these fluids are many drug cocktails, including steroids, narcotic pain relievers, and stimulants. In addition to the man-made chemicals, Katrina also receives treatments of Sakari, demon, and various monsters' blood. Like the doctor herself, Katrina has turned herself into a Frankenstein's monster of various organ grafting and transfusions. Now having the same enhanced abilities as the other whitecoats and the doctor, Katrina has the speed of a Kamatachi, the near invulnerability and fire resistance of a Zmu, the high-speed regeneration of a Caladrius, magical resistance and other special Fey abilities, the enhanced strength of a Fomorian giant, razor-sharp talons on her feet from an Anzu, and each of her fingers sport knife-like claws due to the grafting of Therian Yakaruna hands. She has even given herself the more obscure abilities that the doctor saved back from himself, like the venomous saliva of the Alpha lizard, and the resistance to mind control and mild hypnosis abilities of a vampire. The shelves lining the walls of the lab are a grim testament to the doctor's twisted experiments of the macabre world of the supernatural. Jars of formaldehyde containing preserved specimens float eerily in the dim light, their contents a gruesome assortment of body parts and organs, harvested from a myriad of mysterious and supernatural creatures. Some jars contain the twisted limbs of grotesque monsters, their gnarled claws and talons frozen in unnatural poses. Others hold the preserved heads of mythical beasts, their lifeless eyes staring out from their glass prisons with an unsettling intensity. On the shelves themselves, rows of neatly labeled containers hold samples of blood, tissue, and other bodily fluids collected from the creatures that inhabit the doctor's docked world. Some samples glow with an otherworldly luminescence, while others pulse with a malevolent energy that seems to emanate from within. In the corners of the lab, larger specimens are suspended from the ceiling by thick chains, their forms obscured by shadow and the passage of time. These are the remnants of creatures too large or dangerous to fit on the shelves, their grotesque forms serving as a chilling reminder of the doctor's insatiable thirst for knowledge and power. "Don't you think you've done enough?" the GX warrior known as Switch asks. Aside from Katrina, he is all that is left of the hospital's forces. Still in the body of Tyrell Blackthorn, his appearance is an insult to the enemies of the doctor. Tyrell was one of the men who used to work for Conco and betrayed the company to join up with the rebels, Virtual and Storm. After Flex switched sides, taking Tyrell's body and killing him was the only way he could think of to survive. When Yamura and his allies came through to finish what the rebels began, all of the doctor's forces were wiped out. A few members of Maliagant's team survived, but after regaining consciousness and seeing that the hospital and the doctor were no more, they left. It seems that their loyalties ran only as deep as employment. Only Switch and Katrina have remained, refusing to move on and let go of the past. "It will never be enough until I am powerful enough to repay them for what they did to us," Katrina says, her voice cracking with emotion. "For what they did to the doctor. Look, I want revenge too, but even if we are able to surpass the likes of Virtual, Storm, and Peril, there's no way we can ever hope to bridge the gap that exists between us and those others. The ones that killed the doctor were freaking wizards. We can't fight that. We don't even exist in the same world as that crap." Katrina balls her fists, feeling the power of the Fae flowing through her. Sparkles of elemental magic flash through her consciousness. That gap is not as out of reach as you may think. Not for me, anyway. Okay, well what about Yamura? Can you take him? Pretty sure he's whooped your ass and nearly killed you a few times already. Katrina growls in anger at the mention of Yamura's name, causing several horn-like appendages to extend from her shoulders to nearly pierce Switch. The horns stab into the wall all around the man, causing him to swallow hard in surprise and fear. I am not that same girl that fought Yamura before, Katrina growls. Or are you too dumb and blind to see what I've become? I mean, I can tell you're a lot stronger, Switch admits. But Yamura is an actual monster. Yamura is going to be the first one to experience my wrath. It may have been one of the mages that killed the doctor, but if he had never showed up, neither would they. It's all his fault. He is the root of all of our trouble. If we had killed him that day back in Atlanta, none of this would have happened. The doctor would still be alive. Katrina growls, still shaking with anger. So how are you going to do it? Switch asks. That announcement made by the Sakari and Yana was surely to get Yamura's attention. I too will go to Jyaki Island and participate. It will bring me great satisfaction in robbing Yamura of the opportunity at his own revenge against his sister. Yamura will go to Jyaki Island, seeking closure to a feud that has endured for thousands of years. But instead, he will find me waiting for him. It will be by my hands that Yamura is slain, not in Yana, not Hui, not any of the Sakari who will have that pleasure. I alone will put an end to Yamura. Only then will I move on to the Virtual and his allies, and finally the magicians. My revenge will be calculated and precise. I will not make mistakes due to impatience. Even if it takes me decades, everyone who had a hand in the downfall of the hospital and the death of the doctor will suffer and die. Switch says nothing, still trembling in the fear of the monster that sits before him. Once an assassin, skilled in the arts of infiltration and murder, now she is something different altogether. She is no longer human. Switch's silence hangs heavy in the air, a tangible testament to the gravity of Katrina's words and the transformation she has undergone. As he gazes upon her, the realization dawns upon him that she is no longer the same woman he once knew, a mere assassin turned bodyguard, but something altogether more formidable and terrifying. For a moment, Switch struggles to find his voice, his mind reeling with the enormity of Katrina's declaration. He knows that he's outmatched and outgunned, standing in the presence of a being whose power far surpasses his own. Finally, he manages to muster the courage to speak, his voice barely a whisper as he addresses Katrina once more. Katrina, I understand your pain, your desire for revenge, but this path you're on, it's dangerous. You've become something else entirely. Something monstrous. Katrina's eyes flash with a mixture of anger and determination as she listens to Switch's words. She knows that she has become something other than human, a creature of raw power and unbridled fury. But she also knows that she cannot turn back now. She cannot undo what has been done. You may call me a monster, Katrina says, her voice low and cold. But it was their actions that made me this way. They took everything from me. The doctor, our home, our purpose. They left me with nothing but my pain and my rage. And now I will make them pay for what they've done. Switch can see the fire burning in Katrina's eyes, the unyielding resolve that drives her forward, despite the darkness that surrounds her. He knows that he cannot dissuade her from her path, nor can he stand in her way. All he can do is watch and wait, hoping against hope that somehow, some way, she will find peace and redemption amidst the chaos and destruction that consumes her. As Katrina sits up from the medical table, her movements fluid and purposeful, Switch watches her with a mixture of apprehension and resignation. He knows there's no turning back now, that Katrina is set on her path of vengeance no matter the cost. You're thinking too emotionally, Switch mutters, his voice laced with contempt. You think you can take on Yamura and his allies all on your own. You're delusional. Katrina fixes on him with a cold, unwavering stare, her eyes burning with an intensity that sends a shiver down Switch's spine. I don't need your approval, she retorts, her voice dripping with disdain. I've made my decision, and I intend to see it through to the end. Switch scoffs, his lip curling into a sneer. Fine. Go ahead and throw your life away. But don't expect me to come running to save you when things go south. Katrina's gaze hardens, her jaws set with determination. I don't need you or anyone else to save me. I can take care of myself. Switch laughs bitterly, the sound echoing through the room like a death knell. That's what they all say, but in the end, we're all just pawns to someone else's game. Mark my words, you're playing a dangerous one. Katrina rises to her feet, her posture tense and ready for action. I'll take my chances, she says, her voice steely with resolve. I'll see you on Jyaki Island, Switch, if you make it that far. With that, Katrina strides out of the room, leaving Switch alone with his thoughts and his doubts. He knows that he should follow her, but that he should try to talk some sense into her before it's too late. But deep down, he knows that Katrina is beyond reason, consumed by her thirst for revenge, and her desire to right the wrongs of the past. Yeah, Switch whispers. Fat chance I'm going to that island. Jyaki's going to be a war zone of bloodthirsty monsters. You, on the other hand, are going to fit right in.